when I talk about sales and like how like everything is sales, I'm also talking about like being a better father, husband, leader, and so on. The difference between manipulation and influence is intention, right? There are a lot of people that you feel like, oh man, he's a great talker. She's a great talker. They're charismatic. They can talk to anybody, right? And that sounds like a great gift to have, but people that have that gift generally have a hard time shutting up in an appointment.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started. Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch, and my co-host,
Sophia Bosch.
And we have an amazing guest today. We actually have a gentleman. Normally we have ladies right here on the podcast, but here and there, we'll find amazing gentlemen and men that are champions for women. And I am so excited to have with us today Steve Trang, Sophia. So Mr. Trang is the founder of the Real Estate Disruptors movement. He has a podcast called Disruptors. He started that in 2018. And it's basically to inspire wholesalers and real estate agents to double their income, with a second leg of a business or a side hustle, like we like to call it at home. This podcast has grown to almost 100,000 downloads per month. He's on a mission to create 100 millionaires. One of his favorite quotes is, "You can have everything in life that you want if you're just willing to help enough people to get what they want," which I think is really encapsulates what a business is in terms of giving value. So with that, Steve, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, thank you for having me. And I'm feeling good. And I'm excited to talk about this. As a girl dad, 3 girls, lots of estrogen in the household. So I'm looking forward to talk about, empowering the women in our lives.
Thank you so much for being a champion for women and, like I said, pouring into my Sophia. Sophia, do you want to kick us off with the first question that you had for him?
Sure. So I know, you have a coaching company that targets training people for sales, correct? So what does sales mean to you? What does that mean? And how would you go about training someone?
Sales at a core fundamental level is changing behavior, getting someone to change their position. So a bulk of my clients, like 98% of my clients, buy houses. And so you're getting someone to change their behavior. So what behavior are you getting them to change? Well, they have a house that they don't think they need to sell, or they want to sell for as much money as possible. And you have to convince them to move themselves out of a situation that's actually not good for them, right? So you have to sell them on the idea that there's a better solution, there's a better outcome for you than where you are today. So that's what we do. A lot of what we get paid to train on is that. But it's not just that. Running an organization, you're leading people. When you're leading people, you got to get them to change their behaviors from what the default is, which all of us, a natural human state for 99% of humans, of people, is to be lazy, to do nothing. So you got to motivate them with their own desires to actually want to get on the phones, to actually reach out and touch somebody, to actually have conversations that lead to generating income, right? You guys do a lot of, you guys have created a foundation in land. You got to convince someone to reach out and talk to people that own land, send them mail so they'll take action. And then parenting. Again, I've got 3 girls. My oldest is really strong-headed. I've got to convince her to change her approach from what she wants to do naturally, because what she's doing naturally isn't working. So sales for me is persuading someone to change their current circumstances, despite that being what they naturally want to do.
Yeah. Even though that's kind of like your default from programming, from doing the same thing over and over and over, that repetition sometimes gets you in a path of how you respond or behave, and you want that to be different. And in order to be different, like Steve was saying, you have to show them, okay, these are the other possibilities out there, these are the other outcomes out there. And that's pretty much what you're doing when you're selling a piece of land and a buyer is calling you and they originally wanted, 5 acres, but you have 8 or 10, and you're trying to kind of like persuade them, okay, this other property can give you what you want, and it can also give you an additional 3 acres to do XYZ, on the property, and so on and so forth. So thank you. Yeah, that's it's bringing it home to the core. So and of course, that you're being of service by doing that, by persuading someone, you're being of service to them, always with their best in your mind, when you're trying to do it. So using sales, because it's a powerful tool and a powerful skill to know, Steve. And I always say to Sophia, use it for good, never for evil.
Yeah, this is a skill that can very easily be used for the wrong intentions, right? So we look at it, the difference between manipulation and influence is intention, right? Are you doing this to hurt somebody? Well, that's not going to be good for you in the long run. If you're doing this to help somebody, now, we're putting up good karma. We're helping people. We're still in business. You and I have a lot of friends that are no longer in business today. It's because they made decisions that were purely selfish and wasn't really a benefit for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
hold on. I think I have a question. So people come into your coaching company. Are people born with people are naturally better at persuading people? I think
some are,
but can that be taught, or do you have to find the people with the talent? Or of course the talent can always is there, but then you need to build upon that. But is there a difference?
So there are people that are more naturally gifted than others. Absolutely.
Okay.
But even the people that are naturally gifted, they actually have strong limitations as well. And so there are a lot of people that you feel like, oh man, he's a great talker. She's a great talker. They're charismatic. They can talk to anybody, right? And that sounds like a great gift to have. But people that have that gift generally have a hard time shutting up in an appointment. And they want to talk about the features and benefits and about how good they are, how great their company is, and all these other things. And when you talk to prospects, they don't care about any of these things. All they want to talk about, or what the focus should be, is on them. And so if you're naturally extroverted and you're naturally charismatic, your greatest challenge is in not talking. So if you can figure that out, then you have the most upside. But on the flip side, the introverts, although it's uncomfortable at first to get into sales, they actually have a tremendous amount of upside because they're naturally good at the most important thing in sales, which is listening, empathizing, and seeing the world from the other person's perspective. Because if you can see their perspective, now you have a leg up in sales, because if you can see what they're seeing, now you can tell them, well, what about this? What about that? You can insert ideas. You just mentioned a moment ago about, well, you want 5, we got 8. It's like, hey, you can take care of A, B, and C with these 5 acres. And what else could you do with these other 3 acres? Right? So you can see from their perspective and kind of insert these thoughts. Whereas an extrovert, it's just going to talk over them and not necessarily get the sale.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that distinction. Another distinction that I think is important for her to learn, just in general, is, and she hears a lot of talk, in our home about, so-and-so is our closer, or our top closer, or a setter. But I don't know that we've actually ever sat down with you to explain the difference. Maybe you want to do that for us?
Yeah. So you have the setter and a closer, and that's what we call it predominantly, I think, in the education side or business side. And the setter is basically an inside sales agent. And then the closer is basically an outside sales agent. So an inside sales agent is taking someone that's either raised their hand from your marketing, they went to your website, they called in, they responded to a direct mail piece, they raised their hand and expressed interest in doing business with your organization. Mm-hmm. And so the inside salesperson or setter, responsibility is taking someone that's raised their hand to schedule an appointment for the closer. So they're going to do an intake call, do a discovery call, not a complete discovery, but what has you interested in our product? What's going on now? What are you doing now? Right. And then they set an appointment for the closer, and the closer is the outside sales agent. And depending on the industry, this is over the phone or they're going to meet the prospect, right? That's why they're outside sales agents. And these people are doing a deep discovery conversation. They're the ones that are talking about money. They're the ones talking about decision makers and so on, and getting to ideally a close, whether you have a signed contract at the end of the time together, or you get their credit card, right? One of those two things. So inside sales or setter is to book an appointment. Outside sales or closer is to go collect revenue for the company.
Yeah. And Sophia, right now you have a realtor, that sold your first piece of land and was basically your salesperson for you. And you've heard us at the house say, that our VAs, in the Philippines are setters, and they basically set an appointment for David, our closer, in the land side, for him to get on the phone with the actual customer and sell them on the piece of land. So it's basically the same concept. And also we have that concept also in our educational, in our coaching business as well, where there's somebody basically booking the appointment and somebody else actually going through the process of really exploring, what that buyer really truly needs and understands, and selling them something that is in accordance to that need, and and actually asking for the credit card, at the end of that conversation. That's the most important part, can you explain to Sophia, what is your approach to closing more sales? Because you could have a team, or a situation like the one where you just described, where there's a setter, there's a closer. But in general, if she was doing this alone, which she needs to, because she doesn't have the capital still in her little land business, to go hire a setter and a closer. So she can hire a closer as a realtor, which she has, but it also costs her 10%, commission. And I would love for her to actually gain some of the skills that come with handling objections of a buyer and so on and so forth. So what is your approach to closing more sales, to being able to close more than any other person out there,
So at a core level, what you need to be able to do to be an effective salesperson is you need to be able to fully understand what's going on in other person's world, in their mind. What's keeping them up at night? What are they worried about? What does the perfect outcome look like for them? Right. So you got to ask the right questions to figure out exactly what they want, right? Discover the outcome that they truly desire. And the reality is, most prospects we talk to don't actually know. They can't articulate exactly what they want. They can describe to some degree what they want, but to truly understand what they want, we have to ask the right questions to pull the perfect picture out of them and the feelings associated with that, right? So what are they, again, losing sleep? What are they worried about? But then also the relief or the victory, right? When they get what they want. So you have to figure all that out and then repeat back to them, articulate back to them what they want. And then after that, it gets really easy. You just help them buy it. So like typically you look at sales as something that's done to another person. A lot of us look at sales like you go to buy a car, right? Sales is done to you. But in reality, sales is figuring out what you really want and just help you get that, right? And again, I talk about that's true in buying land. It's going to be true in recruiting people to work for you. It's going to be true in raising money to invest with you. It's going to be true when you're leading your sales team, you're in your administrative team. In every step of the way, sales happens all day, every day. But, for this particular context here, for buying someone's piece of land or selling that land to someone else, what do you ultimately want? And let me help you get that.
Absolutely. What's the biggest problem that you see people out there, or the biggest mistake that you see people out there doing, and therefore they're not able to close the sale?
So we have been trained, I know I've been trained a lot, is to push features and benefits, go over my presentation. Let me tell you about the history of our company. Let me tell you about all my reviews and our track record. And no one cares about any of that, right? So we look at this as kind of like the hero's journey. We've got to be the guide and not the hero. So we're not Luke Skywalker, we're Yoda. We're not Frodo, we're Gandalf. And so you've got a problem that you want solved. and you're compensating me in one way or another to help you solve the problem, because I'm the solution expert. I'm the expert when it comes to the problem. But you just want to go from point A to point B. I'm helping you along the way. So a lot of people, unfortunately, because a lot of people that were trained in sales were trained before the internet was around. Because now you can just Google anything and everything, right? You don't have to put up with the abuse of a salesperson. But 20, 30 years ago, if you wanted to buy a car, if you wanted to buy a property, if you wanted to buy anything nice or expensive, you had to talk to a salesperson and you had to put up with the abuse. Whereas today, it's like, you know what? I don't want to talk to you. Let me talk to someone else, right? Because the information is already relevant. It's prevalent. Everyone has it. So the biggest mistake most salespeople make is overeducating, talking too much, talking over the prospect, and not putting the prospect first.
Absolutely. That is something that you may have experienced as well. Well, Sophia, she was experiencing quite a bit of objection, and maybe you can help with some of this, in terms of objection handling. On the seller side, when she was marketing to sellers, is this for real? Is this a scam? Are you really interested in my piece of land? Or, honey, you sound so young, and it's of course, we can help her by, in the you sound so young, my way for her to object, or to handle that objection was to, well, then tell them, yes, I am young, but this is a family business that has been in business for the last 22 years, and we're very interested in buying your property. So yes, I might be young, but we're ready to present you with an offer if you're ready to sell. And would you have done that any differently, or how would you deal with also an objection like is this a scam, or is this for real?
So starting with a young one, I would acknowledge it. Like, yeah, I do sound young, and if we're still able to buy your land, what other concerns do you have? Just kind of just going right past it. Like, yeah, I sound young. Like, what about it? And just kind of move on. I wouldn't necessarily answer like all the other information until they've addressed it. They say, well, I want to know that you're real, right? Which is the next question. Are you real? Is this a scam? We get that question quite a bit. What will you need to see or hear to feel comfortable knowing that this is not a scam? And then, hopefully they're going to say something along the lines of like, give me a list of properties that you own, background on your guys' family, Better Business Bureau reviews, whatever, a bank statement, right? Show me a bank statement that you can pay this piece of land cash, whatever. So if they say like, is this a scam or is this real? It's like, we get that question all the time. What we need to see or hear just to feel comfortable knowing that this is not a scam.
And so I want you to notice something that he's not saying, and that is the assertiveness and the tonality with which he's speaking when he's saying it. It's not just the words that he's saying.
I know.
It's how he's saying it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for that. Now, biggest piece of advice that you would give your 16-year-old self when it comes,
or your kids,
or your kids when it comes to just entrepreneurship in general, and just being in the world of sales and being in the world of service. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, forget about the kids because they're smarter than me, right? Like that's where they're at. Eldest is 13. She's smarter than me. She knows everything. So forget about what I would tell my kids. But what I would tell myself, right? If I was 16, looking back, if I knew everything I know today, when I was 16 years old, which is a long time ago, it's like, almost 30 years ago. If I knew everything I know today when I was 16 years old, I have no doubt in my mind, I'd be worth 100 million plus today. Right. Mm-hmm. And so what I would look for is someone that's done what you want to do and then go do what they said to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of time, like we want to challenge it, we want to we want to filter it, but some of the most successful people I know go seek answers and then go do it. They don't modify it. They don't add their flavor. They don't add their twist. They just do what their mentor said to do. So I would say find someone that's living the life you want to have, verify it, make sure they're not social media famous. They're not Instagram famous. They're actually wealthy, verify this, and then seek their mentorship and don't change it too much. My biggest problem, and I've had other people say this, like smart people actually have a hard time being successful because they question things, they change things, right? If you could
She's like,
just,
facts.
right? If you
I
could
can
just,
see it.
She's made mistakes because, she's been working with our coach. And she's like, well, I think I got a little cocky over in this county and I over offered, or didn't listen to my coach when, he told me to steer away from this area. And I still went in there thinking I can do it. And I think it goes, it goes to what you're saying. Absolutely.
it's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to just do what they tell you. Just do what they tell you to do. As a matter of fact, I've gotten so like if I'm getting coaching now, I'm just going to do what they say to do. And I actually have a coach who's like, you need to add some more to this. Like you just copy and paste. And it's like, hey, look, if you said to go do this, I'm going to go do it. I'm not adding any additional flavor to it because I've learned by now, don't add flavor until you've mastered it. Like once you've mastered it, then add your flair. Go add your, your pizzazz or whatever to it, but master the fundamentals before you add your flair to it.
Yeah. It's like, you're following a recipe so that you can have an outcome of an amazing dish. But once you've made that dish many times, like your cookies with Papa, right?
Yeah.
You guys are now moved from cook level to chef level, and you're now adding new stuff, and and so it's until you've mastered something that you can start, innovating and bringing in your own flavor. So thank you for that. Now, I actually am curious. So, what got you started in this whole sales and real estate? I mean, is this what you went to school for, Steve, originally?
No, so I mean, I
What's
grew
your
up here.
background?
I grew up here. I went to Corona del Sol High School in Tempe, Arizona. I went to Arizona State University, got my degree in electrical engineering. Went to
Oh my
UC
gosh.
San Diego to get my PhD in electrical engineering. I dropped out after a year and a half with my master's degree. I went to go work at Intel for 3.5 years, and nowhere in here was there real estate, right? And I was an engineer, so I quit Intel to get into real estate when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like a lot of other people around our age, right? Not the people that quit today because of Instagram. Back then, you quit because of Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? So I do the real estate thing, and I sucked at sales because I'm an engineer, and I was really, really bad for a long time. And then at some point, I met a sales trainer, and learning from him, he helped me to reverse engineer sales. So now I can teach sales because I've broken it all down to its core fundamentals, to its first principles. And so when I teach sales at a super basic fundamental level that once you master that, then again, you add your personality to it. And now you're an even more dangerous salesperson. So I did not plan on getting a sales. I was an atrocious salesperson. I feel in some ways I'm the least qualified person to teach sales, given my background. But also I feel like I'm the most qualified because I actually had to learn it because I wasn't naturally gifted.
Yeah. So that going full circle to your first
Yeah.
question, on whether you have to be born a great salesperson or can this person be made? And Steve is the example that epitomizes that you can be not just a freak of nature, but a freak of nurture, and nurturing and developing that skill set. So now, so what are you excited? You're an amazing entrepreneur. You are there's always all kinds of opportunities probably coming your way. What are you excited about these days?
These days, it's just the sales training. I'm getting to a point now, I'm 44 years old. It took me this long to figure out that you're not superhuman. You don't have unlimited energy and focus and attention. And so I am only now focusing on sales today. And my intention is to build a sales training organization that I might be able to exit at an 8 or 9 figure valuation. We'll see where that goes. But, doing the real estate thing, I can't sell a real estate business for 8 or 9 figures. I can sell the real estate, but I can't sell the real estate business for 8 or 9 figures. So I'm trying to build a business that has a recurring model that brings in repeat business that I can eventually either sell or at least be like one of these Fortune 500 CEOs, just lend myself some money and never pay taxes on the money.
Yeah.
So he's basically, his approach to this, even onto what he's going to focus on, his engineering background is kicking in, and he's basically reverse engineering. Okay, this is the goal that I want, which is to exit at this. What vehicle could give me that opportunity to achieve that goal in the fastest, way possible, and get me there. So it's exciting. I did not know that, and I knew that you're in real estate, that you were helping, real estate agents and so on, and inspiring wholesalers, just with your sales methodology and so on and so forth. But I'm very excited to hear. Maybe Sophia might come and join you in your coaching program at some point in sales, so that she can hone her skills. Yeah. I mean, I'm a 100% believer of mentorship and coaching. I am the result of amazing humans that have poured into me, and of course, I've had to invest in them as well and in myself. But it has given me tremendous ROI, far beyond what I paid those coaches and those mentors, to mentor me. And so. For Sophia, I always tell her, just kind of like what you said, when you want to do something, go find the best in that space, and don't be scared to write a check, even if that check can be, a big one and your legs are shaking, because once you commit to it, what's going to happen is that you're going to muster the courage, and you're going to go out there and do it. And while doing it, you're going to get the capabilities. And when you have the capabilities, you have much more confidence in yourself and in your ability to really figure anything out, no matter what's happening in the economy. I mean,
there's an answer for everything.
There is an answer for everything. Absolutely. I always tell her, no matter what's happening, no matter who's president, we are able to create our own economy because of the skill sets that we have. We know we can figure things out. And I'm pretty sure that, you feel the same way with sales. Yeah.
I feel the same exact way.
Especially with sales.
It's crazy. I'll just give you an example here. So I'm closing on a deal today, right? And this is a deal we contracted last year. And we had a 200 and something thousand Medicaid lien pop up on the deal, right? And we got that removed. We had a $5,000 credit card lien pop up, a judgment on it. Wow. We got that removed. And then we got a $42,000 solar lien on it, which was rightfully there, but we got that removed. Problem solving is so critical in entrepreneurship.
That added probably almost $100,000 back into profit into the deal, right?
It would,
if not more.
If not the market going down. So we've had this property contracted so long that the market's gone down. So if I didn't do all those things, we wouldn't be able to close on this deal. So we had to do all these things so that we can still help the homeowner out of foreclosure and get them out of a bad situation. And we still can make money off of it. But if we didn't get all those things done, there's no way we're buying that property the way the market's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure your sales skills were very helpful in getting all those liens removed, because those are not easy conversations.
Sales skills and relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we were saying earlier about good karma, bad karma. I'm in a very good place in my life where I can make a few phone calls and I can call in a few favors. But if you're the guy that's got negative energy, no one's taking your call.
Nobody's taking your call. Thank you for bringing that up, because, Sophia right now is finding herself in a situation where she's like, man, I'm in school right now. Not everyone is excited about business. I mean, you want to tell him what you're experiencing right now and basically what's his approach to finding his peeps?
Yeah, so I go to a really small private school. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but with that territory comes with you're not gonna find as many like-minded people
because it's such a small school. You don't have a big high school to kind of choose from, and people that are interested in the hustle like she is.
I'm kind of surprised though, because I think it's a really nice school, right? Where it's well-to-do people. So I would imagine that a lot of the parents are also business owners. Is that correct?
Business owners, but also a lot of doctors, lawyers. So, high paid professionals, let's say.
I see. I see.
Yeah. And And so a lot of the kids maybe are on the track. I'm gonna become a doctor like my mom or my dad, or I'm gonna become
Or
an
it's
attorney.
also like at my age too, like a lot of kids don't know what they want to do, and that's totally fine. Like, but the fact that I do know what I want to go into slims it down. The fact that I want to go into business slims it down even more. So it's like I've been having trouble finding those people and like my people to really connect with on that.
So
And
it's just a pond that you're fishing in. And so
Yeah.
you might have to fish in a bigger pond, right? Which is, it could be, you could lead an organization inside this country, right? Where you have, regular monthly meetups on Zoom or, twice a month, whatever, and you can lead these conversations. So you don't have to confine yourself into just the population of the school. It could be an
Yeah.
Arizona thing. It could be a nationwide thing. It could be an international thing.
Thank you for opening her mind to that it could even be on Zoom.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be an in-person meetup.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Amazing. Any other question that you might have for Steve?
I don't
From the things that or anything that you've been struggling with, sales or anything in your in your land biz? We're good.
I think I'm good.
Well, maybe tell us what you're excited then about, and which I know is your coaching company right now. And if somebody is interested in, looking into sales mentorship, where can they reach you? Of course, I know you have a podcast, but if anyone wants to connect, when can they?
The
Where
best
can they
place
connect?
to reach out to us. So we have closemarcells.com. That's our website. That's where we have our book, our scripts, and so on. At steve.trang on Instagram, or at Steve Trang on TikTok. I'm assuming your audience is younger. So those are two places you can find me. I have other, stuff as well, Facebook, but, kids these days say Facebook's for the old people. But, I do post stuff on Facebook. But yeah, I would probably say those two things. And then I would say the thing I'm most excited about is, the stuff that when I went down this journey to learn sales and I started in 2018, I didn't know where it was going to take me. I didn't know I was going to be a sales trainer, but I will say the biggest benefit it's been is affording me to be a better leader, better husband, and a better father. Right. So like when I was growing up, I was the oldest son in an immigrant family of 6 boys. And so when you cried, you got why you're crying and stop crying. Right. And when my girls cry, I ask them, how come you're crying? So why you're crying, you got to get defensive. Right. And you feel like you're being shamed and you're doing something wrong. You don't really get to talk about your feelings, right? But my kids, when I ask them how come you're crying, they can share openly and freely, right? And then with my wife, if she's having a bad day, I might say, like, why are you having a bad day? And now she feels like she needs to defend her position, and guess who's catching all that heat, right? Versus, hey, what happened today? What's going on? How come you feel this way? Or what made you feel this way? Now she can have an open and honest conversation. She doesn't feel like she needs to defend herself. So when I talk about sales and like how like everything is sales, I'm also talking about like being a better father, husband, leader, and so on.
Wow. And it was just what a slight change in language that makes a complete world of difference,
Absolutely.
When it comes to how the other person receives that, and therefore their willingness to share, and then you at that point being an amazing listener as a great salesperson, you know, and being there for that person, or in coming up or helping them arrive at a solution,
We reverse engineered sales.
Yeah, and helping them move. It's kind of like if somebody is here and they're stuck, it's moving them along. That was fantastic, Steve. Thank you so much. I mean, it couldn't be more perfect, the illustration of sales, even in your personal life. So thank you so very much. And thank you for taking the time to be here with us, pouring into Sophia. And now she has extended her network of yet another crazy that is into business like her. And no matter if there's age differences, these are all amazing humans, superhumans that you get to meet. And I'm very excited that you got to meet Mr. Trang today, and he got to share some stuff with you. And you can always reach out to him for anything that you need. Maybe it is coaching if you need
Sales
it.
training.
Maybe it is
Maybe.
coaching.
Reach out anytime.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steve. It was a pleasure. For our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. If this was an episode that you enjoyed, share with an amazing woman in your life or a teenager in your life. If you're looking for, any sales skills, Steve Trang is your person. And give us a 5-star review. And we're excited to come next week on another episode of the Becoming Wealthy podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.